You are listening to the Marc Guzman Podcast Experience. Before we get started, just a reminder that you can find all of my available rental properties on my website at marcguzman.com. If you own investment property, click on the Owner Services section to see our complete list of services. This episode is brought to you by Billett Commercial Real Estate. There's more to building wealth in real estate than simply buying and holding. You need to have an entry and exit strategy. You need to know when to invest, have a plan to maximize return during the holding period, and have an exit strategy to sell and exchange the property into a bigger investment. This takes a set of highly qualified professionals to guide you from buying your first investment property to eventually upgrading to the 100-unit complex, providing wealth for you and your family. Brian Billett and David Peel have over 35 years of combined experience specializing in helping families build wealth through real estate. They assist you in putting your investment on autopilot and will guide you along each exchange. Visit them at www.bcre.co. Again, that's www.bcre.co to give your future a jumpstart. A good realtor has their finger on the pulse of local real estate trends. Part of the reason I started this podcast was to showcase these real estate professionals. Our guest today is Stephanie Billet, and I've had the pleasure of knowing her for the last few years as we co-chaired the local Young Professionals Network. Stephanie has parlayed her family's long history and knowledge of the Bay Area into a successful real estate career. On this episode, we discuss her new real estate company, the various challenges surrounding starting the company, the Rent Relief Act, Costa-Hawkins repeal, and the latest market data indicating a shift in today's real estate market. So Stephanie, thank you for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
This is the first time. I've been trying to get you on the podcast for a while now.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
Now, but the timing is actually might be a little bit better now because of what's coming up. And so we'll get into that in a little bit. But so again, thank you for coming on the podcast. One thing I like to ask people is what has your attention right now? So this could be a book, a movie, could be something in your business. What's got your attention?
Well, what's taking up my free time is I'm in the process of building a new brokerage. I've partnered with 3 other people, so there's going to be a total of 4 partners. I've been a solo broker, kind of doing my own thing for about the last 5 years. It's worked. I've succeeded at it, but it's, it takes a tribe, takes a village to really build something special and be able to grow your own, even grow your own business. I was getting to the point where I was doing everything, but taking on more clients, it's like I'm just swamped with work and not able to continually build my personal business. So bringing these other people on, that's definitely what's been taking up our time, and paying attention to the market and this awesome, very rapid market shift we've been having and managing that. And
so I know the partners that are coming into your business, and they're really good people, but what was your biggest decision in adding partners? Was it really just you want some additional time to focus on your own personal business?
It kind of just happened organically. So a couple of years ago, a really good friend of mine, Mari Wines, you've met her. She came to a couple of the YPN events. She's marketing degree. She was working for Muscle Milk, and they sold to Hormel. So Muscle Milk used to be family-owned company that just got huge. I mean, everyone knows that name. The protein drink company.
Yeah.
So she was head of their international marketing, and we were living together, and I helped her buy and sell a couple of her first properties. And who isn't interested in real estate? So she'd come on and be like, oh, what's going on? Okay, who are you working with now? And she's like, so I do both sides. I do loans and real estate, and it's unique to the industry. People do it, but it's not common. And we could talk about how I ended up in there as well. So she didn't like the change from family-owned business to super corporate. And I told her, she'd always tell me, Stephanie, why don't you post online? Post on Facebook. And knock on wood, I've been super fortunate to have a business come from referral and just sphere, and I really never focused on marketing, and again, I didn't have to, and I'm thankful for that. And I'm not a huge social media person, even though you have to be these days. So anyways, I told her, hey, why don't you come and do my marketing for me? You like real estate anyways. So a couple years ago, she joined, which was awesome. Totally helped build this brand. It's like you have a vision, you have a brand, that you want for a company, and that's ultimately why I was by myself for so long before that. And so I was super excited to bring her on. We started really building something special, and then you just get caught up in the whirlwind. Mm-hmm. So the other two, one had approached me. We know each other from YPN, and he was looking to make a change. He is going out for his broker's license. He's like, look, I need to get out of my office. I'm looking to, make some changes. I want to build my own brokerage. I want to get my broker's license. In the meantime, can I come work with you? Totally. No problem. I'll help you out. So we started talking, and I was like, and we worked so well together anyways. And so I was like, why don't we just do something together? It was just, It was kind of random, but perfect because we have the same goals and visions and stuff and what we want to offer as a company to our agents, to clients. So again, it just kind of happened. It wasn't something I was looking to do, but the right people came around, and then someone he had worked with before saw what we were doing, super interested, so he decided to jump ship and come on board. And so yeah, we're really building something special, and I'm excited.
It's very neat. Mm-hmm. Very neat. So it's going to be 3 broker owners or
4? So there's going to be ownership team is 4. So it's myself, Mari, and then Chris and Ryan.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Now you were mentioning you're looking to start and launch the 1st of 2019.
Yes. That's when we're rebranding. We're not going to use the Inhabit East Bay name. So we're just focusing on just building the super solid foundation, getting all our systems in place, getting, the onboarding, organization goals, stuff like that. All of that set in before we launch the full company. So right now we're still just working under Inhabit East Bay.
Now, are you going to try to recruit additional agents to join the team, or are you looking to keep it like a small brokerage with just the 4 of you?
No, we'll definitely look to recruit. I mean, we already have several other agents who we've just known in the community who've been like, what are you guys doing? You guys are working together now? We want to join you. It's when you have a team of people who are just known for good work, but just awesome personalities, easy to get along with, keeps people's interest. You know what I mean? It's not hard. So already we have several other agents working under us anyways. But the whole goal is we want to build this solid model that I think will just attract agents on its own.
Now, you have quite a bit of a history here in the Bay Area, right? Mm-hmm. So why don't you tell us a little bit more of how far back your family goes into the Bay Area, and how long have you lived here? I mean, all your life, have you ever lived anywhere else?
I have lived other places. I was down in Southern California for college, which was fun. So left right after high school, grew up in Concord, Clayton area, went to Clayton Valley. As soon as I turned 18, got the hell out of here. Went to Long Beach, went to school down there, and I actually got my real estate license while I was in college. And I started in real estate in 2008. So
what made you decide to get your real estate license?
So, funny story. I thought I wanted to be a stockbroker. And so I went to school. I have a finance degree. And I was still in college. And I was doing 401k rollovers when the market literally crashed. And so I was looking at that, and I saw people's life savings just gone. And the people I was working with, they were somewhat sympathetic as much as they could be. I mean, it wasn't their fault, but they're like, oh, this just happens in the market. I'm like, oh my gosh, these people, banked on this. What are they going to do? And so I just saw the instability and insecurity of putting all your eggs in one basket. And so I kind of thought to myself, well, real estate's solid. People are always going to need a place to live. For my future, I plan on investing in real estate. Why don't I just get my license so I could just do it myself? I was kind of I wasn't at that time at all planning on making it a career. So get my license.
And what year was this?
2008, 9. Like, it was literally when the majority of the market was short sales and foreclosures. That's when I started. And to be honest, I'm super thankful to have had that experience. And so,
and the reason why I'm asking, it's very interesting to talk to agents that got into the business between 2008 and 2010. And there's a completely different mentality that comes with those agents compared to agents that were practicing business even before that. And I really see a lot of the 2008 to 2010 new agents succeeding a lot more these days because it was a tougher market back then. But that's all you knew.
That's all I knew. And I mean, being licensed, you don't learn shit as you're getting it. And it's honestly a joke. It's not a joke. I shouldn't say that. It is hard. You have to take a test. I was in college, so I knew how to study anyways. But realistically, you don't learn.
You have to take a test and get at least a D.
Yeah, right? And so you don't know what the day-to-day process is after you get your license. So I was like, okay, this is odd. Well, I might as well go learn. So I was went and worked for Coldwell Banker down in Long Beach, and I was a transaction coordinator and short sale negotiator. And that's how I literally learned the business.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's very interesting that you were a transaction coordinator because that really teaches you
the contracts,
the paperwork and the contracts, disclosures, which is something that a lot of people don't learn.
Yes.
Because
it's frightening.
Especially with the companies that have a transaction coordinator, many people are like, oh, I don't have to worry about it. So they never even bother to learn it.
Or look at them. And that's definitely... So I took away from that, and again, I realized while getting my license, like, oh, you don't learn anything, so I'm thankful I got that experience and that training. And I think, that's what helped me succeed in the business overall. And that's definitely something that we're building into our business model is real life agent training. I think that's one of the things our industry lacks significantly. Like I said, anyone can go get a license, and a lot of brokers, not all of them, but a lot of them, okay, cool, you're going to make me some money, go out, get some business, awesome. They do have compliance departments and things like that, but at the end of the day, your compliance department isn't fully reading your TDS or your SBQ to make sure everything is filled out or, not, and so...
Or making sure that the agents understand what the clauses mean.
Yeah, so that you can provide a better service to your clients and help them better understand what these contracts and forms really mean.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest complaints that I see agents have across the nation. When certain topics of debate come up at the California Association of Realtors conferences or the NAR conferences, everyone's worried about professional standards. Everyone's worried, well, what can we do to continue improving the quality of agents? Because there's too many agents that are... I don't know if it's they don't care, but they're not educated enough.
It's not, yeah.
And it's a lot of sloppiness in the industry. And the biggest question is, how do we fix it? And of course, there's only so much you could do as an association. It really comes down to the brokers in the industry because, hey, you're in charge of these agents.
Or the testing in order to get your license. I mean, anyone can memorize questions with multiple choice answers.
Yeah, and I said a D earlier because that's literally what you're required to get, 60%.
Yeah. To me, it's insane. To me, the licensing process itself is insane when you are dealing with legal contracts, legally binding contracts. And in the Bay Area, I mean, what you're at, didn't we just surpass the 625 median price?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's a lot of money. You're dealing with most people's largest investments.
I started real estate when I was 18, and it was always a joke and funny how I could help someone in $1 million transaction, but I still couldn't drink alcohol.
It's a trip. It's a trip. So I honestly, I think the licensing system in general should be tweaked. I mean...
And we're one of the very few states that, like in the nation, that allows a real estate agent to do everything.
And not require an attorney.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I mean, do I want to see that change? Probably. I don't know. It would just be different. And
Yeah, that's a tough argument because you have agents that know what they're doing, that know their job really well, that understand the importance of what they do and understanding the paperwork, and they take it seriously, and they don't want to change that. It's because everyone else is not doing their job properly, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's a very interesting debate. But yeah, I think everyone, for the most part, agrees there has to be a higher level of standards for education, getting the license.
Experience, maybe even.
Yeah, and I think there's some changes going on. I don't want to get into it because I don't know exactly, but I feel like I think there's some changes that are being proposed going
I
on
hope
right
so.
now. So we'll see at the next CAR conference if they've announced anything or any proposals. But that's for sure like the last probably 5 or 6 conferences I've attended, that's been probably the number one debate is professional standards.
Good.
Yeah. So let's talk about your business and what you're seeing right now in the market. Because we were just briefly talking about this before we started recording, is we're seeing a little market shift. And so for some of the listeners, just to give you a little bit of background, we are recording on August 22nd. Last week, Zillow announced that 14% of all their listings in June had to have a price reduction. At the same time, CAR announced that inventory's gone up 12% from a year ago, and closed sales have dropped to the lowest point in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So are you seeing
I
this in your business?
Yeah, I am. And I think it's a fast and dramatic shift that me, myself included, that I didn't think it would shift so quickly and so dramatic, at that rate. Yeah, what I'm seeing is, so let's say 2012, 13, up until earlier this year, put a house on the market, multiple offers, 7 to 14 days minimum. It's, you set an offer date and you expect to have multiple in hand. Now, places are sitting. Buyers, in my opinion, are getting picky. They're seeing that there's more inventory out there. They're not feeling as pressured, where before it was the pressure. Okay, I like this house already, let's get an offer in. And it's a total mind shift and market shift. And I deal more with typically like $500,000-$600,000 plus, and you're feeling it. Especially in the 700 plus range, where they're sitting and it's unexpected.
Yeah, they said that the one market that's still on fire are the multi-million-dollar homes, because most of the purchases are going to come in cash. They're unique homes.
That, and then I also think the affordable ones. So condos up until maybe the $400,000 price range, that's affordable to people. So I think that market is still pretty strong, but it's that middle market,
like 500
well, and we call it middle, here in the Bay Area. But yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely a different conversation you need to have with your sellers, setting up expectations. I mean, also before, the common pricing strategy when you list a home is to list it a little bit under, get multiple offers, bid them up to where you want it.
So are you seeing multiple offers on listings? Does it depend?
It depends. And I think it depends on how the house shows. And like I said, I prep my sellers, really well. And as far as like, this is what your house needs to look like, this is how we need to present. But at the end of the day, say there's some unfinished products and there's another house out there that's, just a tad bit, nicer or updated or whatever than yours. Buyers are going to look at that one, and then they may look at yours and be like, oh, they're just getting pickier. At the end of the day, there isn't that sense of urgency and rush. And I am seeing multiple offers. They're coming in slower. And
the other thing to remember is that interest rates have gone from 4
yes.
up to 4.75, right?
Yeah, which is huge. And look at when you're in that price range, that's a huge change in your monthly payment.
I just did an Ask Marc Anything where I kind of broke it down to where that interest rate gap, that increase, is an extra $300 a month approximate on a $500,000 mortgage.
That's a lot.
Which $3,600 a year, but that's after taxes. Prior taxes, it's $6,500, approximately around that price range. If you think about a 10% pay increase from $60,000 to $65,000 or $66,500, that just got wiped out with interest rates just increasing.
Well, and who's getting 10% raises a year?
Yeah.
So
even if you got a 10% increase and had a 20% down payment and had perfect credit, you're still feeling this.
Oh yeah. And that's why I think in that upper range, that interest rate, going up, and that's one thing I've had to explain to my sellers as well. Like, look, when did you buy? And a lot of them who I'm working with now, the sellers who are either growing out of their house and want to, move up or got relocated or, everyone is situational, right? But a lot of them, and if you didn't purchase in the last 5 years, you absolutely refied because the rates were just insane. So most people I'm working with, they're locked into 3-4% interest rates, and so in low fours, if four at all. And so I gotta explain to them, yeah, we've been seeing the market increasing, so much year over year. It's not happening anymore. You're not gonna get it. The market's stabilizing. I mean, I would call it more of a stabilized market.
Now, there's some loans out there, the 3-1 ARMs, 5-1 ARMs, that still offer some attractive packages. Do you recommend for people to get those type of loans with interest rates now on the rise?
So I'll tell you, they're supposed to be lowering the ARM rates if they haven't already, but that's coming very soon. But I would say in the last year, the ARM rates have not been attractive at all, so I haven't been recommending those. I'll tell you, I always talk to my buyers and I'm like, what is your long-term plan? If this is your first house, most likely you're going to be selling in 7 years or less. When I bought my first house, I knew I was going to be selling in less than 5 years. So I put myself in an ARM because at that point, the rate was over 0.5% less than what the conventional was. If I know long-term wise, but I'm also in the industry, ARMs scare the shit out of people. I mean, they are just like, nope, that's why the housing market crashed, blah, blah, blah. And it's not. That's not why. But it's the misconception that it is. And so people just think they're bad.
Well, the timing was wrong for quite a few people that had got them. They were okay when the market crashed, but then as soon as the payment reset after that 5-year, 7-year mark, and then their payments jumped. Now, part of that was the negative AM loans.
Yeah.
And
then not getting a loan back then compared to getting a loan right now. Everyone's like, is the housing market going to crash? Is it going to crash? I'm like, it's so different right now, what's going on than what happened 2005 to 2007.
Did you read the book or see the movie The Big Short?
I did.
Yeah, that was... I didn't read the book, but I saw the movie.
Yeah.
And that was a great movie.
It was awesome.
But that kind of showed you a little bit of what was going on at the time, especially Steve Carell's character, who was going around and investigating why some people had 23 mortgages and were just buying property left and right, and straw buyers.
Yeah, because you didn't have to prove that you could afford them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like I said, it's hard to get a loan now. It's doable. It's totally doable if you have stable income, stuff like that. You don't need the 20% down. So to go back to your question about the ARMs, would I recommend them if the rates make sense and if my buyers don't see themselves holding the property longer than 7 years? Otherwise, I mean, I would say, like I said, in the last year, maybe 2 years, I haven't done a single ARM because the rates, it didn't make sense.
Okay. Now, and here's one thing too. Do you deal with a lot of clients that are looking to buy their first property and instead you move them into buying a duplex, triplex, or fourplex?
So I work with a lot of first-time buyers, and I'll say majority of them, I get into single family. Now, where I'm at too, which is kind of more East Bay, you don't have a whole lot of those residential income properties available. So lack of inventory on that respect definitely hinders. I am seeing more, and I encourage people to look at rental possibilities. And I would say, people in the younger generation who are buying their first are totally open to it, and whether it's buying an actual duplex or triplex or like a single family with a mother-in-law unit, stuff like that. It's attractive and they see the benefit of it. But like I said, I don't have a whole lot of inventory that in my area that people could.
So with the interest rates going up, the data that Zillow and CER came out with, there's people that are now saying we're seeing the beginning of a market shift, but not a correction. There's other people that say, no, we are seeing the beginning of the correction that's being predicted now for the last 2 years.
What's it correcting?
Well,
Yeah.
And then Governor Jerry Brown came out that he's predicting a recession here in the U.S. in the next 2 years. What's your take on it? I mean, do you see this just as a simple market shift? Maybe we just hit the peak of prices. Things are now just adjusting to where they should be. Or are we seeing the beginning of a correction where we might see prices drop 4 or 5%?
Personally, I think it's a shift. And I think it's getting more into a normal market, which people have not seen a normal market since 2008. That's 10 years. So we literally went from the majority of listings being short sales and foreclosures up until people started building equity. And then we just had this buying frenzy and it was just a full-on seller's market. None of those are normal. What's been happening in the last 5 years is not normal. And so what I think is happening is with rates going up, affordability is going down a little bit, people are looking to move out. It's stabilizing. As far as the recession nationally, I can't predict the future. I wish I could. I don't agree that's what's happening. And again, the correction, using the word correction and what happened with the housing crisis and everyone was losing their homes and stuff like that. Again, it was bad loans. And we're not issuing bad loans anymore. So I don't see why, there would be a recession.
Like another recession?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, honestly, the last normal market might have been in late 1990s.
Yeah.
Because right after that small little mini recession in the housing market, you had loans just start going crazy, like 2002, 2003.
Yeah.
And then people are just left and right just giving out loans. And then it really peaked 2007 and it crashed. But that entire market between 2002 and 7 was not even normal because
and it was
money was just being dumped and given out to everyone.
It was, I can't think of what word I'm thinking, but it was like false. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, values were going up because people were buying and on this buying frenzy, like you said. But again, they should have never been buying those homes because they didn't qualify for them. So being a loan officer in an industry, I see how hard it is to qualify for a loan nowadays. And unless there was a huge nationwide economy crash, Bay Area tech crashed for one reason or another, yeah, we'd maybe see people losing their homes, but I don't see that happening.
So there's two things I want to get your opinion on. Number one, Costa-Hawkins repeal is going to be on the ballot this November. What's your take on that? So Costa-Hawkins is this is what. So let's say in rent control cities, Costa-Hawkins protects single family and condos from rent control. So rent control would not apply to single family. So if Costa-Hawkins gets repealed, then a city like Richmond or Oakland or Berkeley can then place rent control on single family homes and condos. In addition, Costa-Hawkins allows for vacancy decontrol. So let's say you have an apartment building in Oakland and let's say it's an 8-unit building, one of the tenants leaves. Well, with Costa-Hawkins in place, it allows for vacancy decontrol, meaning if they were renting at 1,000 and they leave, then you can rent that unit out at market rate. So if market's 2,000, you can rent it at 2,000. If Costa-Hawkins gets repealed, they can then modify it to not allow for vacancy decontrol, meaning once that tenant leaves at
You can only
1,000,
increase it.
you can only rent it out at 1,000.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think it'll get repealed, and I'm not a fan or supporter of rent control in general, so.
I think many people are not. I mean, you have some big tenant groups that are, fighting for rent control in many cities. I mean, you see Richmond was the first city in 27 years to pass it, despite the fact that it's illegal in 27 U.S. states, rent control, and the data just doesn't show that it works. I mean, look at San Francisco, Berkeley, and Oakland, the highest rents, and yet they've had rent control for, many, many years. But for some reason, it's like a short-term happy pill that people want passed. But long-term, it just doesn't make sense, and the data shows it.
And exactly. It hasn't worked in the past, and so why continue to try and use a model that doesn't work?
Yeah. Now, have you heard of Senator Kamala Harris' Rent Relief Act?
I have.
And so what's your take on that?
Personally, I'm not a fan. Giving a tax break to renters, and first of all, 30%, so it's if they pay over 30% of their income. Let me tell you, to get a mortgage, your debt to income ratio can be, for a conventional, not even a government loan, can be around 50% now. You know what I mean? So that does mean, takes into account car payments, stuff like that. But say someone doesn't have debt. They have a car that's paid off. They don't have student loans. They don't have credit card debt. They can spend up to 50% of their income. The Bay Area is an expensive place to live. I think giving tax breaks to renters incentivizes them not to buy. So at the end of the day, the incentive should be more towards home ownership. And I just don't think that bill supports that.
Okay. Interesting. So, I mean, with a lot of the first-time home buyers that you deal with, do you see a lot of them taking into consideration all the different, like, for example, the most recent tax reform through the Trump administration, and how now you're capped in California at $10,000 for
Property
income,
tax.
but not just property taxes, but it's state taxes and property taxes. You're capped at $10,000, period. So for most Californians, you're going to be paying more in taxes. Do you see with a lot of the first-time home buyers them even taking that into consideration when they're buying, or are they just stuck on, no, I still want to buy?
So when it was big news, I would get questions about it, but at the end of the day, they still saw the benefits of buying. And so it didn't deter them or hesitate that, from purchasing. It was a topic of conversation. Now you don't hear anything about it, at all, because it's not in the news. It's passed and you deal with it. And so I don't think
I don't think anyone's really felt the effects until next year.
Yeah.
No one.
And I don't know. I mean, tax benefits, deductions and stuff like that for owning your home is an incentive, but it's not the only one.
So let's go back to your new company you're starting. What are some of the challenges? Because I don't think a lot of people in the industry really know what it takes sometimes to build a company. Most people are just sales agents, and I also get that a lot of people don't want to start their own company, but there are quite a few people that do have that dream of one day starting their own company. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you and your partners right now have faced in starting up a new company? And you did start in Habits. So what are the challenges that you face building that company too?
Gosh. I started as transaction coordinator, stuff like that. When I moved back up here, and this is where I'm from, so that's why when I first moved back and was still in the industry, I was working for a couple of other smaller offices, helping them with marketing. helping them again with transaction management, stuff like that, and even office admin stuff. And when I saw kind of like what the overhead was and then what you're giving up as a commission split, I'm just like, I can do this. You know, it's not a whole lot of overhead. There's a lot of challenges though. You have to be an admin person. I hate that. Like I hate that part. And what is so nice about partnering with other people is partnering with those who their strengths are your weaknesses, you know, and just balancing each other out. And it's going to sound so minor. So I want to say like the only, not even challenges is figuring out what systems we want to implement within the company. And it's more, you know, computer system. What CRM are we going to use? You know, what's working? What isn't? What tools does this program offer that this one doesn't? And we keep finding like, oh, we love this about this one platform, but it doesn't provide this. You know what I mean? But trying to create a foundation and a system that it's streamlined, the different programs talk to each other. So it's more just, you know, a lot of researching. And to be honest, we're all busy. We're all busy agents. So it's like getting caught up with the whirlwind, but then also, you know, taking the time to really build out these projects and build them out right. And, you know, it's time.
What CRM are you using right now? Because I've tried so many and I run into the same problem.
Yeah.
Everyone has their pros and cons, but there's not one system that just does it all.
No. And I'm like, what are we doing building a brokerage? We should just build a software system, you know what I mean? That does everything and then retire. No, I'm just kidding. So we actually decided on as a company to use Conversion. And Conversion talks to SkySlope, which talks to Broker Sumo and all the, you know, making sure everything integrates together. And then Conversion is actually coming out with, they're launching an updated version of their platform, and it's called KV Core.
Okay.
So I'll tell you, I wasn't a huge fan of Conversion itself, but then once I saw the KV Core platform, much more intuitive for the agent's base, and so yeah, that's what we decided on.
So are you looking to build this new company more as a traditional brokerage, or are you looking to possibly maybe play around with it with like the virtual brokerage model? Because I'm sure you've heard of EXP. That's a really big one. And Keller Williams just recently announced that they're going to launch virtual brokers or brokerages too, which is going to be interesting to see how they're going to work with in conjunction with their traditional model and a virtual brokerage model.
So not necessarily virtual brokerage. That's not what we're thinking. It's more, you know, setting up the, you know, solid foundation and pillars of systems that work and being able to just help agents. You know, at the end of the day, training, again, like I said in the beginning, is huge. And I want to focus on, you know, that and just making them true experts at being a real estate agent or a loan officer, and what that means and how to provide awesome service. At the same time, having these systems in place to where it does make their job easier and more streamlined. And as far as, you know, having this model, the whole goal is to have this model and then recruit agents. And if we end up getting, you know, other brokers, satellite offices or whatever, awesome, you know, but it's all about just building that super solid foundation and structure and pretty much blueprint to where anyone could take it, you know what I mean, and model with our brokerage after it.
Yeah, this is a little off topic, but did you hear Compass announce that
Yes!
they're buying Pacific Union?
Yes.
Compass is growing huge. I mean, they're backed by
quickly.
Yeah, I mean, they have like, what was it, $600-700 million in venture funds, but they're just buying up so many companies across the United
Pacific
States.
Union is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Yeah, that was announced today, I think, right?
Yesterday? I think I saw it yesterday. Yeah, and we actually talked about it as a group. I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah, Compass is big. I told someone a while back, this was maybe a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, that companies like Compass, what was the other company, Climb, that did something similar?
Yep.
Or no, not Climb, because Climb got bought out by, I think, NRT. and NRT is the parent company for Coldwell Banker. But as these big companies start, or at least small companies, as they grow and get bigger, you're going to start seeing a lot of these venture companies coming in and just buying up a ton of real estate brokerages.
I agree, and I think where we're different, and it's not necessarily the route we want to go, is, it's like grow and get bought out or whatever. It's almost like building a boutique brokerage, because we're extremely community involved as well, and I think that's an important aspect of our overall mission and goals as a company, and how we serve our community on top of our clients. And so it's more like it's taking that you can take this model and you can move, so we're in the East Bay right now. Say we got some agents who are super interested in the South Bay. It's like a boutique brokerage, but the foundation is there, so it can be modeled anywhere you go in the nation, or anywhere, but it still has that local feel.
Mm-hmm. So growing up in the East Bay, what's your favorite coffee shop to go to?
Oh my gosh, Starbucks, because I can go through a drive-through. Yeah, I know. I don't hang out at coffee shops, but I'm more outdoor. So when you're a kid, you don't appreciate where you live or realize you live in an awesome area. Went to school down in Long Beach. After I graduated, I traveled a lot during winter breaks, summer breaks, stuff like that, internationally. Love to travel. It was a huge passion, still is, just looking to find the time to do it again. Yeah. Which is coming one day. After college, I actually left the country for 8 months and went and traveled through South America, Australia, and Asia.
Very cool.
And I tell everyone, if you can do it, do it, and it was one winter break that I was in Thailand, and I met Canadians and Australians, and they're like, oh, we're traveling for 6 months, or we're traveling for a year. I'm like, holy shit, people do that? You don't hear of anyone in the U.S. doing that, and I think it is starting to get out there, travel more. I think it's starting the notion of it's starting to get more popular, and people are seeing the benefits of it. But as soon as I heard that after college, I had a decent amount of money saved. It's like, okay, before I move back and get entrenched in a career that I'm not going to have the free time, I just need to get the hell out of here while I still can.
So while you were traveling, what was it about the East Bay or the Bay Area that you missed?
The scenery. You realize when you're gone, how beautiful of a place California really, really is. We have the mountains, we have the beautiful oceans, awesome weather, great city life, but then you also can be out in the country at the same time. So it really, you have all options. So when I moved back up here after traveling, you're in that travel mode still, and you want to explore your own areas. And that's one of the things about Inhabit East Bay. It's yes, you're buying a home, but you're also buying a home in the East Bay, and you need to get to know your surroundings, get to know your community, go to your parks, and I found growing up, it wasn't, not a lot of people would go and explore. It's have you been to Alcatraz before? Unless it was on a field trip, probably not, and so I really, having that traveler mindset, when I got back, I just, kept going and just used it as if I was traveling every day or weekend. Where am I going to go now? Let's go do this, try new things, and it's fun, and you get to really explore everything the Bay Area has to offer, which is so much.
So for a new real estate agent coming into the market, and they want to take your advice on getting more involved with the community, what's number one? What do they have to do?
Oh, what are you passionate about? Where can you see yourself helping people? I've always been about giving back. And when you give, you just get back in return. You feel good about it. You have the time to do it. And what I was basing that community model off of was, again, you're buying a house in this neighborhood. It was more geared towards my clients fully understanding and appreciating where it is they lived. get to know your neighbors. Guess what? You get to own a house, but there's also people who don't. And there's so many people who are in need in this community. And so, building a model off of giving back and just making your clients aware and being able to allow them to make the choices of, so with each transaction, donating a portion of the commission to charity. And so making them get involved and being like, this is who I support, what do you like though? What would you like to support? Let me know and I'll be happy to donate to that one instead. And so I think, again, my goal is to just get people to fully understand where they live and who all lives there.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So for someone that wants to contact you, do business with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Email, phone, social media as well.
And what's your phone number? And then we'll go ahead and link up your social media on the podcast.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Well, you can reach me at 925-890-7480. And my email, sjbillet, so like my name is spelled, @gmail.com.
Awesome. So thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you
Good
for
luck
having me.
to you and your partners on the future company. We'll have to do another podcast
Yes.
next year.
After we launch.
With everyone.
With all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can get their inputs as to what's been hard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so good luck, and thanks again for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you to our producer, Sam Levin. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share the podcast. Remember, you can listen to the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Google Play, SoundCloud, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. For more information on my business as a property manager and real estate team, go visit my website at marcguzman.com. I really want to thank all of you for listening. It means the world to me, and I hope today's episode provides you value in your day-to-day life. I created this podcast to help showcase the many great people that live in this world and help share some knowledge that I've learned along the way in life. Again, thank you for listening. Check out our sponsors, and I'll catch you on the next episode.